things that are important, and that we have an afternoon where we could have some time with you. And also with this group, we also decided that in this group, the retailing and some people have done more with social media, and others have done more with Zooming. And so there's a lot of talent in this group, just like with the Platinum Alliance. So there's picking the brains of others. It's really some collaborative sharing of lessons learned, not only in this first quarter, but also the future. And one other outcome that needs to come from that is our plan for the last 3 quarters, facilitating a calendar of all those various kinds of events so that we can keep the momentum going. I think that's part of the agenda lunchtime. But this group, this Launch Central, which is kind of east of the Mississippi, what are we going to do so that we're not overlapping and that we can do a better job of coordinating the schedule? So that'll be one. We also want some time to do that while we're there. The importance of weekly events and monthly trainings and quarterly events and big events and tying them into everything else. Right now, everybody's feeling a little overwhelmed. And Mike admitted on the Friday call that cart was before the horse. We started with the big events with the top guys going out, and usually that's after you have some people in the process and you've done some of the sorting. But to get the wave going, that's the way it went. So now that the wave's going and people are producing, to put the rhythm of the business and the alignment of success in the next 3 quarters, as he's always taught and you've always taught. So what we really have now is a true learning environment. There are these kinds of masterminds groups, this one, the Platinum Alliance, the calls that are on through the Platinum Alliance, and then Dave Johnson and others have their calls as well. So there has been really a lot of momentum and excitement and energy again. So to capture that and put that in a form so there's a little bit more structure and a sense of direction, so that we really can use that airplane and get this baby off the ground and up into the air and moving into the future. How does that sound?
Well, it sounds wonderful. This past month was up again. And what I observed was a 7% growth, which is very healthy growth.
Are you saying for your organization or all?
Yeah. No, the only thing I can look at is mine, okay. But it's pretty conclusive. It's pretty broad-based and covers, U.S., Canada, Mexico, Latin America, Europe, the major markets, and all markets were up, and the trend is.
Oops. I think I muted you, Stan. Dave.
Dave got muted.
Yeah, you got to unmute yourself.
So anyway, I saw this month that we're up about 7%. We've been continuing that nice uptrend for several months, and that is very exciting. And it just substantiates what's going on. And one of the reasons why I originally, said to Madeline that, got me excited to jump back in with both feet and start moving forward, because of the positiveness, the change, the group dynamic of the energy that the group creates. And but you said a couple of things I'd like to touch on that I think are very important. And this was the rebel in Dave Rolfe, and all throughout the 90s, caused me to write the book, Vested Interest, which became, my mantra, my calling card, and a stable datum for a lot of folks doing this business. And it was an observation, and it was kind of like, well, I'd been involved in network marketing since the 90s, since the 70s, 1975. I did about 13 different companies. And it always seemed that the personalities, the good lookers, the most idealistic couples, would get on stage, and the smooth talkers, and they'd get up there and they'd tell their story and blah, 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 blah. And after they finished talking, I'd scratch my head and I'd say to myself, they didn't say a damn thing. I mean, there's nothing I could take out of this conversation to go home with and build a business. And it was frustrating. And also the other aspect of this was that people would get up on stage and they would tell their story of how to do the business based on their life circumstance. Now, I don't want to burst any bubbles here, but you probably all heard the Reed Nelson story. But I want to tell you that story is so far from the truth it hurts, because that's not what went on and how they started their business. And so I'm not going to get into the details, but I was there and I was a part of it. So when you're there and a part of it and you know what's going on versus what you hear years down the road from the stage are two different things. So what I saw people trying to do was they were trying to emulate personalities and copy what those people were doing rather than understand what they should be doing. Now, I understand we have some celebrities on our call today in the sense of being a celebrity with a particular method of doing business. And I bow down to you, sir, for your ability to handle retail. I couldn't do retail if you paid me. I don't know why. It's got to be some kind of back off I had. I mean, I started in the insurance business selling door to door, which was retail. But in a sense, and there's a point to what I'm saying here is that the style and technique by which you can do this business is probably a list as long as there are people on planet Earth. And everyone's different and everyone's unique and everyone has their strengths and everyone has their weaknesses. But if they understand the core concept of what they're trying to accomplish, it makes more sense. Now, you brought up this point about going to the events. Well, it comes to the first point I wrote about in chapter 1 of vested interest was treat it like a business. I mean, if you're truly involved in this to make this work, for your own person, for your own life, for your own family, for your own gratification, then the way you're going to succeed at that is by paying attention to the details and doing what's necessary to overcome the barriers and obstacles that are coming up in your way. Now, I mean, if this was as easy as, cooking toast in a toaster, everybody'd be doing it and there wouldn't be an opportunity. It would have been done years ago. It has some semblance of a challenge. And it's like prospecting for finding a good distributor. I couldn't tell you who's a good distributor by just looking at somebody. Maybe after a couple of months of activity and watching what people do, because it's not what they say, it's what they do. And so from the aspect of teaching and learning and understanding, what I did back in the 90s was I observed what different people did. I looked at what they were accomplishing, and then I said, okay, well, I could do that my way. But as long as I did that, well, what was that? What was that they were talking about? It was the prospecting. I remember one platinum that I created in building my organization. It was the last platinum, and the guy was a neighbor, and the approach was he was building a home. We lived in a very upper crust area, and the homes were millions of dollars, and that was one of the perks that I got from doing this business. And so here this guy is building this house, and I loved construction. So I was just curious. I wasn't even prospecting. I was just curious. I walked into this construction site, and there was this guy with a hard hat on, and I said, "Is the owner around?" And he said, "Yeah." I said, "Well, I'm a neighbor up the street." I said, "I've been watching all this construction." He said, "Well, I'm the owner." And I said, "Oh, great." Well, for 6 months we talked before the business came up. And and it took me that long to figure out what this guy wanted. And that was the most interesting part of doing and playing this game of Niken is, if you find something that you want that this business can provide for you, watch out, man. Nothing's going to get in your way, and nothing's going to hold you back, and nothing's going to keep you from being successful, because it's your drive that wants to get it done, and you're going to figure it out. That's what I've seen for 27 years being in Niken and 42 years being in network marketing. It's the individual drive, and then they figure it out in their own way. And I haven't seen one person up or two people do the same thing up on stage. Everybody's got a little slightly different twist of it, of how they tell their story. And then there are people that come down and they're going to push their system and their style and their methodology. Well, why? Just think about this for a minute. Why is that occurring? It's because that's how they got there, and that's what they know. And so but if you only look at it in one way, then that's all you see. You got to kind of broaden that horizon in how you look at this and say, well, you can do it this way, you can do it that way, you can sell some retail, you can do some wholesale. My whole deal on promoting and teaching this business was strictly on money. On dangling the product and technology, it's workable, and then we can validate the heck out of that. And then at the same time, looking for people that were hungry, that wanted to make an income, and observing that in network marketing. And of course, people understood the concept of a penny doubled every day, or the leverage of network marketing, and those that became successful and professional made a ton of money. And then the people that didn't learn it, didn't. And so there's another observation that there is no such thing as failure. There's only not doing what you need to do. So you never look at it as failure, it's just look at what you need to do to get the job done. So this comes to a point, big events or events or participation. Well, it's kind of like a marriage. If you're married, do you participate or do you not participate? You participate. And big events is just like, it's part of the business. It's a part of the business. It's like it's a function, it's an activity. It's like if you had an office and you had a desk in the office and that's where you worked, and you said, well, I don't need to go into the desk in the office. Why? Well, that's where you work. You see, so you work at these events, you get motivated in these events, you get ideas in these events, you talk to, you find friends in these events, you find somebody that's on the same wavelength as you, and then you collaborate and you coordinate and you communicate, and all kinds of ideas come back. I can't tell you how important and excited events would cause things to occur in my universe if I went to an event. And what I did in the very beginning, I went to every event I could possibly get to, because I was thirsty for the knowledge of, well, how do I make this work? How do I put two and two together here? What's the learning curve? And again, highly recommend that to everyone at the same time. Is, you got this person and this person and this person and this person. They all have different ways of saying the same thing. Because here's the simplicity of it. This business works when somebody buys a product, period. And I wrote that there were three ways people could buy a product: retail, wholesale, or distributor sale. And here's the interesting thing: distributors buy the most products. So I said, well, this is a no-brainer. We'll find distributors who buy lots of product. And of course, government regulations and all this other stuff came along, which is fine, and because there were people that were doing things the wrong way. And I have to admire, and my hat's off to Niken, that always wanted to do it the best and the right way and keep everything in check so that we wouldn't get into trouble, with front-loading people like so many deals in the past had done, and kind of tainted the reputation of network marketing. So in the sense of which way to go and how to go about doing it, it's the same way as the people that you attract. What I observed, again, in doing this business for a long term, is that different people attract different people. And so what got frustrating for some is they would look at the successful people on the stage and they would say, my God, how do I do that? But they're looking in the wrong direction. See, you don't want to do the same thing you want to get what that guy's done, but you want to do it by understanding what did he do, and then you extrapolate from that on with what you've got going on in your life and how you make it together. And again, the only way that I knew how to do that was to understand the concepts. Now, I said chapter 1, treat it like a business. Well, I had a house, I had a garage, 3-car garage. I emptied the garage, I put a carpet on the floor, I put a desk on it, I put up fake walls, put pictures on the wall, and it looked like an office. Well, that worked for me. Made me feel I could walk out of the back of the house into my garage, into my office. I sat down at my desk, I had my phone, all the charts and everything on the wall, and I get on the phone. Well, I remember one day I had young kids, and I had the garage door open because it was a beautiful day. And the neighbor, I was on the phone doing a call with somebody, the neighbor came over screaming, he said, your kids are throwing stuff at my house. And it was kind of like, oh, okay, well, I have to change that environment because it wasn't safe to be in office, and people didn't understand that when you're in your garage, you're open for communication from the neighbors. But again, whatever works. Some people don't have a house, they work in apartments, so they got a corner in their apartment. But the idea is that if you're going to do this as a business, treat it like it. Give it the same professional care. You have a space, have the files, have the, so that when you change from being homemaker or girlfriend or boyfriend or whatever to this, then that's the beingness that you take on, is you're being this business person. So on and so forth. And then again, styles and technique, again, I've done many different things to try and figure out what worked best for me. One of the things that worked best for me, and I found this out, was figuring out what other people wanted. And then communicating that back to them seemed to work like magic all the time. Now, if it was product, then fine, they get product. If it was money, fine, then they got money. If it was recognition, fine, they got recognition. So it wasn't one, it was the ability to kind of direct your attention. It's not about you once you're in this business. It's about the next guy. It's the other person. It's the person that you're talking to. That's the important issue, not you. And so many people they just don't get it. I'm sorry, they just don't get it. For example, if you do wellness previews, or if you've gone to wellness previews and you've got a room full of brand new people in that wellness preview, what does the person at the top of the stage talk about? He talks about how to do Nikan and all these funny words and all this, and the person sitting in the background hasn't a clue what you're talking about. Just go back to the day you started this business. Did you know all the products? Did you know the compensation plan? Did you know all the terminology? Well, of course you didn't. I remember I went to my first network marketing and meeting in 1975, and it was for Amway. And this guy by the name of Jim Jantz, who was a triple ambassador crown guru, and I'm the only guy in the audience. And there was only one thing I remembered from that meeting. And he said, this business is like owning a Coca-Cola machine on every corner of every street, and every time somebody buys a Coke, you get a nickel. And that's what I remembered. I can't, I just saw mountains of nickels. Everywhere I looked, wow, look at all those nickels, It was just like this incredible picture. But the concept hit home. I had a problem. I needed to make income. I was unemployable. I couldn't work for somebody else, because I always had I'm better than they are kind of an attitude. I was a little more arrogant when I was younger. But that was good and helped me win some battles. But I think you get the message from the standpoint of the style and technique. So I had to, I had to gain my style and technique. Look at couples. You know, here's a great way to understand this. Look at all the couples, and you look at a couple and you say to yourself, how the heck did those two get together? You know, because it's the way they communicate. It's how they interact with each other. And the same thing applies to our business. See, again, if you go out and you communicate and you ask questions, you're going to get answers. And let me tell you this, it's almost magical, but the right questions and you write with the right person, it's like an instantaneous relationship, and away you go. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that up because I think it's important. And we can talk about lots of things, but it was the importance of the event. It was the whole purpose of that communication was, hey, if you're playing this for real, and this is what you want to do, then jump in. I mean, give it your all. I mean, here again, I'll bring this point up. You know, again, there is no such thing as failure. There's only people who quit or don't understand. And there, you can understand and you don't have to quit because you can do this right. I mean, again, how does it work? When people buy product. Well, how do people buy product? When we talk to them. Why do people join this business? Each and every one of you has a reason why you joined the business. You had something rolling around between those ears that was getting to you that this looked like it could solve or be a solution to. I did surveys back in the 90s, and 93% of the people that I surveyed got involved with this business to make some extra money. I talked to all the leaders in this business. I watched every single person go Royal Diamond. And all of the big boys were infatuated by the fact of the success, the recognition, the money, but they always talked and dangled the product, the technology, and the philosophy. But the bottom line, if they went broke, where'd they go? Elsewhere. So let's not pussyfoot around with reality and life and living, and let's deal with the facts, and let's get, you know, in the sense of seriousness with a big smile on your face of, you know, playing the game. I mean, here's a prime example. Let's look at the Super Bowl. I don't know if you watched the Super Bowl, but it was probably one of the greatest Super Bowls I've ever seen. Now, I happen to be a New England Patriot fan, and in my first half, I was devastated, and in the second half, I was elated, but here was persistence personified. Here was professionalism personified. Here was a group of people that made a commitment with each other and just wouldn't quit.
The Cleveland Cavaliers are the same way.
Yes, exactly. So the concept is the same universally. And again, if you're going to play the game, play the game. If you're not going to play the game, don't play the game, you know, because it'll kill you. It's an emotional roller coaster, and it costs money to play, and you'll spend more money than you make, and then all you'll do is walk around and grumble, grumble, grumble.
Dave,
And I'm only saying that facetiously because, again, we're talking to serious players on this. But again, the commitment is the commitment. It's just like, you know, are you going to get married or are you not going to get married? Are you going out or are you not going to go out? Are you going to spend your life with me or are you not going to spend your life with me? And et cetera, et cetera. So it's very important. Anyway.
Dave, the people that are here that didn't run off for another money thing haven't necessarily been the highest earners.
Sure.
So we have been driven. There are a lot of professionals, and we like to help other people, and have had the entrepreneurial numbers background that and experience that you've had, or network marketing. For a good journey on here, it's the first experience in network marketing, and now the rules have changed. So,
sure.
So can you speak to that, or if anybody else wants to unmute and comment there?
Well, I'll just say one thing. I did networking for 15 years without success.
Well, that's encouraging. Some of us have 15 to 19 years.
You know, I started and stopped this business 3 times. And when I look back and reflect on it, I would have to say that the key to all of those times were what was I doing? Or what was I not doing? Or what piece of information did I not have that I could have had or could have used to, make it better? Or what were the circumstances going on in my life? And in the early days, I tried, but I was distracted. I was elsewhere. I wasn't really focused. With Nikan, what was most interesting when I started in 1990, it was almost like I was in a desperate position to make it work because I had a family and big responsibility, and I was unemployable. I had nowhere else to go, so to speak. So I hooked up with the right people. And when I say I hooked up with the right people, I hooked up with people that had the know-how and the advice on what do you do.
Not everybody here knows that you were an illegal immigrant.
Oh, shh.
Oh, I forgot. Okay.
Now with Trump around, I got to get this squared. No, I'm joking. I'm legal now. But yeah, so there's knowledge, there's activity, there's circumstance, there's clean hands make a happy life. I mean, I've seen some real crooks in this business. Thank God they're out, but who cheated and lied and stole and manipulated their way up to the top, and they went right out the bottom. And the ones that are still here are still here. And, again, so it's tweaking it. But what you've really got to look at is yourself. And I'm only saying this because it's you and your universe, and when you look out of those eyes, and it's what you perceive. And when somebody hits you on the head, it's you experience it. I don't. You do. When something works, you elate. I can appreciate it by my own experience, but if you have a headache, I can't feel it. Only you can. So sometimes we have to do a little soul searching and take a look at, are we really pushing the limits, or do we have considerations that are getting in the way of what we do? And these can be silly little things. Like, well, I can't go to a big meeting because I'll spend more than I make, blah, blah, blah. Or, well, I couldn't talk to that person because they wouldn't do the business. Well, how the heck do you know they wouldn't do the business? I can't tell if somebody's going to do the business or not until we go through a process of understanding, and those were the goofy things. And, people say, well, I can't talk to people in front of groups. Well, either could I. I couldn't. I got up there. I was a soaking wet dish rag by the time I got finished making a presentation. I stuttered. I kid you not. I stuttered. I was sweat like a pig, and I would, I would talk faster than I could talk, and I'd get tongue-tied, and then I'd walk off stage and everybody clap. And I was like, God, are they being nice to me or what? But it was just persistence. Persistence, 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 persistence. This isn't a right. This is a opportunity. And you can take advantage of the opportunity, or you can let it slide by. Many people have let it slide by, and many people have taken advantage of the opportunity. So what do you need to do? Well, again, I'm redoing my webpage, and it'll be up very shortly. I'm just waiting for a couple more videos that I want to do with certain topics, one of which I was hoping to get done tonight, and we possibly can. And it's all there. It's the 10 things you need to know. And I guarantee you there are no other things other than these 10, other than style and technique. Because you could go out and talk to somebody 10 different ways. Well, I don't care how you talk to them, as long as you get across the idea of what the concept is of talking to somebody. It's to find out what they need and want.
20
minutes. And then present them with that. Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, there we go. If you let me talk, I'll talk. You know, you can't shut me up.
Yeah, do your 10 steps. Not everyone here. Yeah, not everyone here.
Well, here was the question that came up, and I think this is important. I want to talk about this specifically. And in chapter 4, it was called "Show Me the Money," and I talk about this all the time. I talked about it all the time. I'd get into a conversation about somebody, and I'd listen. I'd listen to what they were saying, and I'd try and ask questions that got me into their lifestyle, you know, what their job was, and I became very familiar with all jobs. So if I understood what an engineer was, or a doctor was, or a nurse was, or a truck driver, or whatever, I could talk in their language because I understood the common language of that profession, you know, for being a photographer and so on and so forth. So you get acclimated doing that, and I did that because I was in the sales business, and I just studied people, and I studied what they did. But what I wanted to get to after being in this arena was I wanted to find out if that person had a desire to make more or a lot, or was in a challenging position economically. So I could ask the question, well, if I could show you how to make an extra $5,000 a month, would you seriously take a look at this? Now, you know, how many other questions could relate to that same idea? Well, do you keep your eyes open for new opportunities? You know, is another idea. Do you, you know, it's again, style and technique. What you're comfortable with, you know. Hey, are you into alternative healthcare? Are you into alternative medicines? Are you into homeopathy and so on and so forth, if that's your background? Are you disgusted with communism? Are you, you know, whatever it is, it's the asking of the question, because here's what happens. When somebody else has the same ideas and thoughts that you do, and you start talking about them, what happens to your communication level? It increases. And when you increase your communication, the reality of what you're talking about gets greater. And the desire of how you relate with them and with that other person, the affinity between the two of you grows. So all of a sudden, things start to happen magically. Again, it's like a relationship. What happens when you're in a relationship and you meet somebody for the first time, and man, you hit it off, you talk, you laugh with each other, and you like the same subjects, and boom, before you know it, you've got a family. Well, it's the same thing in network marketing. It's the same thing. You hit it off big time with this person, and all of a sudden you're kind of like, wow, this is, I mean, I can't tell you the business conversations of, that's all you talk about. Well, how do we do this, and where do we go with that? And okay, we'll get this meeting going, and we'll do this over here, and we'll expand it, we'll grow, and we'll take over the world. It's the same kind of concept in the sense of the affinity, the reality, and the communication that's going on. You see, so that's where I would go with this thing of, I wanted somebody that got excited about making money. Now, to give you the prime example, I had a guy, he worked for me, he was a broker. I had this business, and we were raising venture capital. This was before I did Nikan, and I knew he liked to make money. I mean, that's all this guy was. His name was Howard, and I phoned him up and I said, Howard, I think I found the goose that laid the golden egg. And this was in January of 1990, or maybe February of 1990. And he said, well, what do you got? And I said, well, there's this new Japanese company in town. They're selling this, a very incredibly interesting magnetic technology product that's never been here before, blah, 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 and I think you should take a look. He says, okay. I said, here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to send you some product. I want you to try it out. So I sent him the product. About a week later, I get a call. It says, Dave, I'm not sure what you're involved with, but I'm in. And I said, holy crap, this is interesting. So that was my first taste of the product creating a result that But what was the drive? The drive was money. See, it was workability. You know, I mean, again, it's like anything else is the validation of the product is the key to, you know, stimulate the other things. So here's what I saw. What I saw with people was if they had a serious desire to make money or wanted to make income, they would jump in with both feet if they could believe it. And if they would jump in with both feet, we all know what happens. They can build huge organizations. And they're the drivers of our business. They're the real drivers of our business. And I've experienced this in many other businesses. I've experienced this in the 90s with our climb. And I'm coming back to present time 2017. Why I'm back in is because I'm seeing it being driven again. I'm not the guy that wanted to do the driving this time. I had my time. I was part of the driving part in the 90s and made it to the top, did my thing, wrote my book, traveled the world, had fun, retired, you know, did a gazillion other things. That's what I did. And I'm enjoying doing that. This is great. But at the same time, I still have a love for and appreciation for the people that helped me, and I still want to help. I had a hard time helping in the last 10 years because we weren't getting the right cooperation necessary to help make it work based on what I knew would make it work. And we've talked about this, and you know, anyway, we don't want to go there, but anyway, that's why I'm back. So when I saw what Howard got excited about, I used that over and over again. And my question to somebody was, if I could show you how to make $5,000, if I could show you how to make $1,000 bucks, if I could show you how to pay for your second home, if I could show you how to buy your second car, if I could show you how to pay for your college education. See the question? If I could show you, and then you fill in the blanks. Now, in the education process, I kept saying $5,000, so people got, you know, took it literally. And they wanted to have 5,000, 2,000, 3,000, 1,000. Well, here's the impossible task. It never stays the same. I mean, my income fluctuates on a month-to-month basis. I mean, somebody wants to make $500 a month. Well, here's the answer. Call Gary and do retail. And that's how you're going to make your $500 a month. But we're trying to raise the bar in the thinking process of the average income in this country is $48,000. So let's talk $50,000. Let's talk $100,000. Let's get some people that are really interested in moving and shaking, because that's what's going to drive your business, is somebody that's aggressively wants to make that kind of money. So I would throw out the $5,000, and as an example, and another chapter, well, it's in the same chapter, I said, show me the money. The key to show me the money is know your comp plan. And what I was trying to tie together here on these two subjects was, you can easily show somebody how to make money, and that's what they need to see to get involved and to make it work. I mean, I can remember in the early days, 1990, I had an office in Nikon's headquarters in Westwood, California, and people would get their paycheck. And it would show that they got 5% rebate on this guy and 10% on this guy and 15% on this, and then they get a check amount, and it was all gobbledygook to 99% of the population. And so they had no customer service. So I said to them, I said, well, listen, I will answer all their questions. And here's what happened. I would see a guy's check. He'd make $349. And I would see how he made it. He said, well, he made it with a little retail, a little wholesale, and so on and so forth. And so I had examples from $50 to 20,000 floating around in my head of examples of income. Well, what that did for me was, it was kind of like you going to a restaurant and they make sandwiches, but you don't know what kind of sandwiches that you make, versus the guy that's cooking all the sandwiches knows all the sandwiches. And so he looks at the menu and he says, oh, egg salad, God, that's the best, you know, or corned beef on rye. That's, you know, it was just having that familiarity with how it works. Now, you want to make $5,000 a month, there's no question, it's going to come through leadership bonuses. Unless you're a superstar in an individual way. And this is where we have to make sure we don't get confused with how we become successful in this business. I can't do what Mike DiMuccio does. I can't. Not going to. Have no desire to. I love him dearly, but I understand what he's doing. And I can do the same thing my way. You follow where I'm coming from in that particular thing. So what information does for you is it gives you the ability to think. So what I would do is I'd go home and I'd say, okay, I want to make $2,000 a month. How do I do that? How does it work? How do I put that together? How many people do I have to talk to? How much volume do I have? You know, I mean, I would ask myself all these questions. And that's what you got to do. And here's why you need to do it. Because, you see, you want to have the confidence, and that's all you're after here, is to say to somebody, hey, would you be interested in making an extra $5,000? And have him say yes. Well, let's sit down. I can show you exactly what you need to do here. And then you take a piece of paper, and, you know, you just like, you know, I would get I'll just share my screen. I'll put on the whiteboard and show you exactly what we're talking about here. Whiteboard, okay, go share screen. So the guy says, okay, I want to make, let's do the $5,000. Clear that just real quick here. Clear drawings, okay. So we got 5,000. Excuse the sloppiness of trying to get this thing working. Now, in my mind, I know exactly what needs to be done. I know how much volume, I know approximately how many liters, and I know that from experience, right? But before I had the experience, I had to sit down there and say, well, how do I make money? Well, I make 5,000 and I know the percentage is 6%. So if I divide 5,000 by 6%, what do I come up with? Well, I think it's 83,000, right?
And are you going to clarify CV and PV?
Yeah, well, right now I'm just going to do it in concept and then we'll break it down. So I looked at that and I said, okay, I got to do 83,000 in volume times 6% equals 5,000. So, okay, that's pretty easy. But then the next question that came to mind is, well, how many people? You know, how many distributors do I have that are going to accomplish this feat? Well, then I would say, okay, so then I went back to look at information. I said, well, the average distributor at that time was doing 2,000 points. So I got 83,000. 83,000, divide that by 2,000, I need 41 people. So 41 people times 2,000 gives me my 83, right? So mathematically, I said, okay, this is great. So I need to make $5,000. So now I'm talking to somebody that doesn't know this for the very first time. So I'm saying, okay, here's our rate of commission. We got to create this amount of volume. We need 41 distributors. Now I'm going to show you the magic of network marketing. And I say, here you are. And of course, the goal that we want is 41, right? And we're going to do is we're going to look for 3 key people. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to teach them to get the other 38. And the guy says, oh, so we go here. We're going to help this guy get 3. Okay, we're going to help this guy get 3. or whatever number you want to look with, and we're going to help this guy get 3, et cetera, et cetera. Now we got 3, 6, 9 here, so now we need another 27 to go. And then I would just draw it out. And then I would give an analogy. And I would say, now this is no different than, you know, Starbucks or McDonald's. I mean, McDonald's started with 1 restaurant. How many do they have now? 41,000? 48,000 worldwide? I started with 1 distributor, me. I went out and I went and talked to 7 or 8 people. I found 1 person that was really excited. Got that guy going, then I got another person that was really excited. Got that gentleman going, then I found another guy that was really excited. And this is what they did. They went out bang, bang, bang. So do you think that you and I can't find 3 people to get this going? And here's the magic of this. You see, what your confidence is to show. If he can see that you know, he'll trust you, and he'll follow you, and he'll be a part of you, and he'll help you. I always built it in teams. I always built it 1 leg at a time. And I found that it was a very powerful way to go. Now, in my story that you're going to hear, okay, I went silver in 2 months. I went gold in 4 months. I went platinum, I think, in 6 or 7 months. Then it took me 5 years to go to diamond and another 2 years to go to royal diamond. So the whole trek from bottom to top was almost 10 years. But that 10-year period of time was worth every cent of it. And the experience and what benefit is. So, but it was built on understanding each particular level. And of course, the magic of this is understanding how it works. See, number 2 here is going to see that it works when he has these guys below him.
Dave?
Now, here's where people made mistakes.
Dave?
They only work with their front line.
We have another call coming up, and there's somebody that's logged on Niken Live that has to log off for the next live to go on, for the next call to go on. So we either, some of us need to leave, not everybody has to, but
okay, well, that's all. This is what I wanted to do, was to just basically say that the key to success is understanding how it works and then taking advantage of it.
So your 10 steps we can cover at another time. Now that's another thing. I mean, we could have different sessions.
We can have a gazillion of these things, but anyway, so that was to answer the question. So the example for 100, 500, 200, just, you know, get the idea of how to do it, and then you can figure it out. And then your job is to, you know, to sit down there so that you gain that understanding and confidence so that you can talk to somebody. And, you know, I've had people say, I need to know how to make $50,000 a month. Okay.
Hey, Dave, you said, what did you just say? Understanding how it works and blank, blank, blank.
And then having the confidence to communicate that.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah, the whole back off is just, you will not talk about what you don't understand.
Okay, and the other thing we would like you back with, because this hybrid, you know, the retail, actually it's a 3-way. It's the e-commerce, and when I've spoken with you a couple other times, you certainly brought that up as well. I think you even told me a year ago, maybe, that Niken was a little bit too late on recognizing the changes in the world for e-commerce. But the retail customer, it's the only way to advance in rank. So that's very different than any promotions.
Absolutely.
The retail customer PV is very different. I mean, the price, the PV, and the CV is very different. So that 6%.
Well, again, it's one of the rules of the game. I mean, I had to do it. Everybody has to do it. You got to have your retail customers. Some are going to be better than others at it. But again, if we look at the concept, here's how you have to look at it. Look how they pay out. Majority for retail and the majority for leadership bonus. Leadership bonus is 6 levels of 6%. Their retail is 25%.
No question.
So those two areas can, but with retail, it's like a machine. And of course, the way to really expand retail is social media. I mean, there's no question about that, unless you're a gift of the gab or you live in a small community and you know everybody. And again, on a part-time basis, this could be more difficult for others. And of course, the whole key to network marketing is leverage. And just, you understand it, then you play what you want to play. It's like if you know how to cook and you understand the recipe, then you can do whatever you want. That's the key.
So much. You want to share your phone number and your email for those that?
Yeah, DaveRolfe.com. I mean, sorry, Rolfman@earthlink.net or DaveRolfe@earthlink.net will email me. And the number is 617-388-9109 if you want a phone and or WhatsApp.
Thank you. It would be nice to have some question and answer dialogue. So Orlando, everybody that's going to Orlando, we'll be meeting somewhere and we'll get the word around, and maybe another session with Stan's group or whatever, Dave.
Whatever you want, just lay it out. I'm still on the coming back into getting acclimated. I want to talk. I want to know. I want to understand.
Good. Let's do it again. Unfortunately, doctor said I shouldn't travel. Sorry.
Yeah, okay. That makes sense.
I'm going to have to cancel the trip out. I was looking forward to it, but I...
Understood completely.
Yeah. Thank you, Dave, so much. It was it's fun to be back in the game. God bless you guys.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.